This is the best axe in the world.
Open Air Outdoors.
This right here is the very best axe in the world. But it's time for me to do some maintenance on this axe. Follow me into the shop. I'm going to tell you how I acquired this axe, what it's all about, its design, but more importantly, why it is the best. Let's go do it. Welcome to Open Air Outdoors. My name is Mark and today is a shop project day. I'm glad you're here. Let's work on this axe. I need to do some maintenance on this axe. And while I'm doing some maintenance, I'm going to tell you everything about it. This is a vintage axe and I want to share my story with you. Let's get started. This axe has been in use for a great many years. I've owned it for a long time. I'll talk more about that later. But basically, we're going to clean up all the rough edges. We're going to give it a little bit of a shine and clean up the handle and oil that as well while we're at it. Let's get started. Now this axe has seen years and years and years of use, used by myself, and it's seen unknown amount of years before I acquired it. I'm going to get started with the handle. I'm going to start with some a little bit coarser paper, 100 grit, and then we're going to move on to some 220, smoothing that axe handle right up, and then we're going to go to the head. And as I'm doing all this process, I'm going to talk to you about this axe, what it's about. Let's get started. When I was 14 years old, I was walking in the woods around the house. I grew up in the country and the entire area was all wooded. And I used to hunt rabbits and grouse all around the house. And one afternoon on a weekend, I was walking in the woods with my little 22 LR, and I was trekking through some pretty dense brush. And then I suddenly, things cleared out a little bit. And in that opening there was this massive stump that had been chainsawed off. In this stump, this axe had been plunged right into the top of that stump. It was just sitting there, and I thought right away, wow, how cool is that? I just found an axe. And I remember it clear as day in my mind as I'm looking at it, sitting there in that stump, plunged into that stump. The handle was completely gray, completely weathered. And I walked up to that axe and I'm looking at it and said, wow, cool. And as I reached over and I grabbed it, as soon as my hand grabbed that handle, it just cracked, broke right off, right behind the head. And here I am holding this axe handle, and I was like, wow, this axe had been there for years. This handle, the handle that was on this axe, was completely rotten. So I then looked at the head and I tried to pull it out. It was still stuck in there really well. I managed to find a stick on the ground, a decent sized piece of wood that I was able to whack it, and I beat it, and I managed to get the axe head loose, and I brought it home. That was 40 years ago. Let's keep working on this handle. looks all right, eh? I'm gonna give it another coat of oil later because it's the oil has penetrated into the wood and it actually feels dry. So I'm gonna give it another coat. But I lay claims that this is the best axe in the world, and I have yet to describe what it is or what it's all about. So let's head back to the workbench. We're gonna work on the business end of this and talk some more about what it is. So the maker of this axe is Walters. And Walters was a Canadian company that operated out of Quebec. I don't know everything about the company, but I do know that it was sold off in the early 1970s, 1973 to be exact. But it was a family-run company, and I'm not 100% about this part, but I believe it originated back to the late 1800s. I guess I could have Googled some information before making the video, but if you know, leave a comment down below. If I'm to be corrected. Walters, first of all, was known for producing high-quality axes, but they had a separate line of axes which they called Black Diamond, which was like exceptional quality. And I'm fortunate enough that this axe that I found in the woods when I was 14 years old is a Black Diamond. Let's do a little bit more cosmetic work on this axe, but first let's look at the pattern. This is a Hudson's Bay pattern axe, and you got a little bit of a notch underneath there and a downward sweep, very indicative of a Hudson's Bay. And the top, the sweep on the top is not as pronounced as the bottom. Very indicative of a Hudson's Bay pattern axe. Let's do a little bit more cosmetic work on this, and then we're gonna work on the edge. So over the years using this axe, what I found with this design is it lends itself quite well as both a felling axe and a splitting axe. The pommel is extra wide, quite thick. There's a large mass there. And what happens is you got that extra weight on the back side of the cutting edge. And this axe just lends itself quite well all around. Okay, let's go work on this edge a little bit, and still got to discuss why this is the best axe in the world. As I stated earlier in the video, I found this axe when I was 14 years old. I know exactly how this axe feels in my hand. I know the weight. I'm very familiar with how it's going to perform. I can swing at a piece of wood, at a standing tree, and I don't have to take aim. I know exactly where this axe will hit simply looking at my target. I know exactly how many strikes it's going to take to split a piece of wood of a specific size and of a specific species of tree. That is because I've been swinging this axe for
40 years. And that is why this is the best axe in the world.